Welcome to Real Feels, the podcast that invites people to be public with their private persona. In a world where we are constantly redefining what it means to be a man, I'd like to take some time to find out who we are, who we aim to be, and the space in between. I'm your host, Brad Gage. So I'm recording this intro from outside. I'm in coronavirus quarantine right now, but just wanted to take a step out for a bit to celebrate the main topic of today's episode with writer, director, and eco-conscious superhero, Caron Clancey. And I say hero because she wields her power in the way that every one of us can, with our wallets. She makes choices every day, no matter how small, to lower her carbon footprint and help heal the environment. And I think it's about time that we all recognize how exciting it is to have the opportunity to make big changes every day. Caron and I talk here about her love for dirt, the helpful earth nerd tricks she shares online, and how disconnected masculinity bleeds into every area of environmental politics. Above all, this episode will hopefully inspire you to make even the smallest baby steps towards your health and the world's. Because we can only do what we can with the choices we are brought. And I'm so glad to bring you Caron Clancey in this moment right now. How you doing today? How you feeling today?
I'm good. I did a lot of fun activities for myself.
You did fun activities for yourself today?
Yeah.
What were you doing?
I painted a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I was hanging out in my garden, meditating, listening to music, and I got some writing done.
What a you day.
It was very, very me.
Did you plan that out or did it just evolve?
I had some administrative stuff that I had to take care of and I just didn't do it. But I did all these other fun things.
Yeah, good. How are you with your time management?
To-do lists really help.
Yeah.
And it also helps if I'm already busy.
Yeah.
But right now there's not a ton of work because it's February and I'm just really bored. So it's a little harder to structure my days. I'm just trying not to go crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, to-do lists really help my brain.
You have a day of you're painting, writing, meditating, hanging out in a garden. That's you. Is that a definition of you?
If I didn't have to pay bills, I would do that every day.
How would you describe yourself to somebody who's never met you?
I don't know, light energy,
mm-hmm.
and creativity and nature, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm very eco-minded. I like connecting to nature, and I'm trying to be open and light is my goal my intention every day.
Yeah.
As much as I can be.
I think you're doing a pretty good job from what I've absorbed.
Yes.
Absorbed
yeah.
of you. The eco-consciousness.
Yeah.
Where did that start? Where does that come from?
I feel like it's always been part of my life. I have really core memories, in my journal where I'm we sorted trash today in 4th grade. And I was it was so cool. So from the time I was a kid, I was interested in it.
Did parents influence this at all? Or
yeah, kind of. When I would go to the beach, my mom always made my brother and I pick up trash before we left. And and in the 90s, there was a ton of propaganda about recycling and
so much.
Captain Planet was one of my favorite shows.
Everything don't
Gullah
prevent
Island.
forest fires.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Yes,
it was,
recycle, reduce, reuse, recycle. That was
yes.
Everywhere.
Yes. I remember an episode of Gullah Island where they're so this is something that I got from an online shipping catalog. Let's look at the packaging. And they're going through it. And then I don't know, from 2000 to 5 years ago, I guess there's nothing. I don't know what happened, but yeah, now we're back to it.
Was it lacking, or is it just because we haven't been watching children's programming? I don't know.
I think it was just the terrorism thing.
Everyone's have something more serious. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oil.
Yeah. I think that had part. We went to war and we're
you think we got ruined by the war, maybe?
A little bit.
We got a little messed up from that.
Yeah, but now we're back in it because it's very dire. Yeah, in college, I was really involved with environmental groups, and I made like jewelry out of trash, and I was making like those silverware holders like 10 years ago, before anybody, where you could like wrap up your silverware in like cotton and, like, tie it up.
Little bags.
Yeah,
little
I was making
cloth
those
bags,
10 years ago. Like, nobody knew what they were. Nobody would buy them. They're like,
Yeah.
what is this? And now they're like really popular.
Yeah. Tell me something that gives you anxiety, and tell me something that gives you hope.
About the environment?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just having a weird conversation on set with somebody who I just met, and there was this like existential kind of discussion, and I got like really triggered by it because from my point of view, he kind of just came in, listened to half a sentence of this very nuanced conversation we're having, and then was like, here's the answer. And I was like, you weren't here for the first half of this conversation. But basically the sides are, do you focus on what you can individually control, like doing better, like recycling or cutting down on your waste, or growing your own vegetables, buying less stuff. Like, these are things that I focus on. And he was arguing that not only does that not do anything at all to help, but it's actually hurting the environment, because my energy would be better spent making the government make the changes. So like, very two schools of thought. And we were both like similarly minded politically. So I was getting very heated about, like, he basically was saying like, everything you're doing is wrong, useless, you're wasting your time, you are not helping the world, you're not helping the environment. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. But I've been reading up on like these two arguments, and like, yes, there's validity in that, like 100 companies are responsible for 70% of the emissions,
right,
whatever. From my point of view, like, I'm not supporting those companies, like, financially. Like, I spend my money in other places. So in my mind, I would like to hope that has some impact, but it's like, I have anxiety all the time about like, is anything that I'm doing making a difference?
What do you do? What are the things that you do? Give me some examples.
Okay.
I'm sure there's a million of them.
I compost
Yes.
everything.
Yes.
I have been doing so for like 3 years. I've like learned a lot about soil health. I have a backyard where I'm like trying to improve the soil, because the soil can actually suck up carbon out of the air, and like anyone who has a backyard can do this and like actually offset their carbon footprint by just like making the soil better. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just crazy. I buy most of my clothes secondhand. I buy a lot of stuff like secondhand. I take a lot of time to buy things in general. And so like buying this new thing, not only is it the thing, but it's the journey that it took to become this thing and then get shipped to the store and then come in, and then I have to be responsible for it's when it becomes trash. Like, I've decided to take responsibility for all the things in my life and like where they're going to go, like whether or not I can compost them or recycle them, or if they're going to the landfill. So I'm just constantly researching and constantly like thinking about, I'm just very mindful about like the way that I buy things and the way that I consume things, and
you share them. I see it a lot.
Yeah.
And that's
I put it all over my Instagram.
And I'm sure too it's tough because I don't know how often. I'm sure some people respond, but it's one of those things you're just kind of throwing it out there and being like, I hope this is affecting people.
Well, that is a great segue into what's hopeful, because even though I am just one person, I do get a lot of people responding and saying like, this is so inspiring, like, I'm going to try this, and blah, blah, blah. Like, people at the end of the year were like, I'm going to try to use less waste, like, consciously. And like, so anyone that they share their thing with, then they will inspire other people. And it's like the ripple effect, like, even though I'm just one person, I feel like me sharing like that I can still live a relatively normal life doing these things. I'm not like in a hole somewhere.
No, and also I think I find that the more of this I do, the more connected I feel, but also just empowered and in control.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's right now it's very scary. Like, you there is a lot that you can't control. Like, obviously you can vote for politicians who are going to push legislation, and you can email, companies, but like at a certain point, there's just stuff that you can do
believing that it doesn't do anything, I think, is almost this. It's a negative, but like nihilistic look. It's like,
Sure.
whatever you do every day,
Right.
means something.
I mean, like there are people that argue like we're not going to die from the environment. We're going to die from like a plague or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, so
Or
it's like,
AI taking over.
Or yeah,
something.
robot. Like, so like we don't have to even worry about climate change because we'll be long dead.
But this is the faster one. This is the fastest one of them all.
I mean, we're seeing that it's like shit's happening like
very quickly.
like way quicker
the
than
warmest temperatures in Antarctica
I know.
of all time.
Although I just looked up a sea rise level map of Los Angeles, and we're gonna be on coastal property, baby.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Our
East side.
yeah, we're gonna be at the beach, so we won't be underwater, which is a good thing.
This is
Don't move west of like East LA.
Westwood.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
certainly not. No.
Okay.
No, honestly, like downtown is.
Oh,
like,
downtown
the
is
coast.
where, cause that's when it really starts to get
Yeah, and
Silver
then the
Lake,
hills,
Highland Park,
yeah.
the hills. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
This map is, just to clarify, this map is if every ice cap melted completely.
Yeah.
That would be like 126 feet
Yeah.
of rise. So, you know, I don't. But then it's like ice all melts at the same temperature.
Right.
And it happens pretty quickly. Like
Once
have you
it hits
seen,
it, the ice
have
will
you
melt.
seen ice melt in a glass? Like it can melt like in minutes. I don't know. Like I mean, I'm sure there's more to it, but like I don't know why people are like, we got 50 years. It's like I don't think we do.
What?
I am very nihilist about it, but I'm kind of like, I'm just really obsessed with like post-apocalyptic stories.
Yeah. No, we've been preparing ourselves for this scenario
like,
for years of decades of movies.
The storyteller in me is just like, oh my God, this is crazy to watch. But like, it's very bad.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah.
This is morbid. I'm sorry.
No, it's not morbid. This is important. It is. We can't always turn away from this stuff.
No.
We can't. We
It's
can't.
the reality.
Like the worst part is whenever this comes up, people just go, like, I don't want to hear about it.
Yeah, it's hard.
And that kicking the can is the reason why we are where we are.
Yeah.
And so to me, it is just about implementing small changes and
Yeah.
believing, not even believing, knowing that whatever you're doing, like I am vegan.
Yeah.
Sans a once in a while sushi dinner.
Yeah.
But for like no dairy, none, and just knowing that the percentages of carbon that I am taking out of the
Yeah.
air because I'm not buying
Right.
meat from cows.
Right.
And so like there you go.
Yeah.
One thing.
I know like people say like, oh, you shouldn't blame the individual. You shouldn't put the responsibility in the individual's hands, whatever. They're not the ones. But it's like we are all implicit in this system. Like we sign up every day with our dollars, with our time in this machine that has created all these emissions. Like if there is a movement away from certain habits, like I believe that when the bottom line of a company is hurt, they will have to make changes because all they care about is the money. It's not like they're going to be like, oh, I read an article that like we're bad. Like I'm going to make some changes. Like I personally believe that our dollars have a lot of strength.
It's the strongest thing we can do.
So I have control over where I spend my money.
Yeah.
Like I know not everyone does have the privilege to spend their money exactly how they would want to, but any changes you can make over the course of the world population, like that's got to do something, right? Like, I don't know.
It's making the conscious choice, even if it's cheaper and easier, like buying organic.
Yeah.
And how it's demonized and kind of made fun of is fine because slowly it's just creeping in and being normalized. And people make fun of the hippy dippy vegans and organic this and gluten free this and this. It's just like but like
Pesticides are like
hippies have always been right about this stuff. Like people who are more connected, like it's it's been a century of greed and convenience.
Yeah. Productivity. Well, I was thinking about like productivity was what was promised because of all this like growth, but I don't know who's benefiting from all this productivity other than the people at the top.
Right.
So like, what's the point? Like, what are we actually getting out of this other than like more time to work for not that much money.
Yeah, you could jobs from here will shift to here.
Yeah.
It's not like once this type of industry goes away, then there won't be another one that replaces it in a more sustainable way.
Yeah.
How often are you talking to people about this and having to have in-depth conversations and convince people?
I love talking about it. Like,
Yeah.
I overshare constant. Like, I'll be at a party and someone will be like, "Oh, Jennifer, Caron composts." And she's like, "Oh, cool. I'm thinking of composting." And I'm like, "Let me tell you everything I know." And then they're like, "Okay, I gotta go." And I like talk about dirt for way too long. And well, like a handful of healthy soil has like billions of microorganisms. It's like the universe in your palm. Like, I really love it. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's so cool. And just gardening for me started as kind of a therapy after like a breakup. Like, it was really helped me learn patience because, you know, you sow the seeds and then you don't see the sprout for so long. There's so many life metaphors like connected to the garden, and like it just helped me so much. So I just think everyone would benefit from like slowing down and like observing nature in any way. You know, it's just like then you start really thinking about the way systems are put together, and it's a different way of looking at things.
Yeah. What do you think is the root problem with environmental issues?
Well, there's a couple big ones, but in terms of like a system that could be changed, I think we all need to be composting, because when you mix organic matter in with the plastic landfill trash, there's no oxygen, and that releases methane, which is 30 times more potent than carbon. But even though it's 9% of the output, it's 30 times more potent, so it's actually just as harmful as the carbon.
So, the plant waste, all of our food scraps,
Yeah.
are actually hurting the system more. And if we separated them,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Ourselves.
Not only could we create very nutrient-rich soil,
Yeah.
which would suck more carbon out of the air, but yeah, it's just like double whammy. Like,
Yeah.
I think setting up a system where people could very easily just throw their food scraps in the green bin. You know, not everyone's going to have a backyard or whatever, but like make the green bin a compost bin. I think everyone could get on board with that because they wouldn't really have to change that much in their lives.
Yeah. And composting is something that I literally just researched because me and my girlfriend are about to start.
Yeah. Great.
But it just takes a little bit of sitting down and watching a couple of videos.
Yeah.
I'm going to put a link in the description of this podcast and in this video to whatever you think is the best composter, and maybe another video.
Okay.
So that people can just get a little sense
Yeah.
of it, because it's not complicated, but there are some specifics in there.
Yes.
That you need to get right. There is chemistry
There is a
involved.
chemistry. Like I'm very loosey-goosey with it just because I just put everything that I can in there.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it makes you think about what things are made of and what things are natural and what things aren't. When you start thinking, is this compostable? Is this compostable? You know, like I put my hair in there, like from the bathroom, you know, because we are compostable,
Yeah.
like
What would
as
that
humans.
be? Would that be the carbon? What is that? Which ingredient would hair be?
I guess that would be a brown. There's brown and green.
Yes.
And then like I shred all my bills and I put in, not my
Right.
bills, but like my junk mail.
That's the carbon, the paper.
Yeah.
Paper is important,
Shredded
which
paper.
I never knew. You make compost, you need paper. It's helpful.
But I actually get a lot of people saying like, I don't have any like straw or dead leaves. And I'm like, you have way more than you think, like in the packaging that you get, like those like cardboard takeout things, not the shiny ones, because those are plastic, but just pizza boxes. I just cut up a pizza box and put it in there, you know? So it's like, we throw out so much that shouldn't be thrown out. And I think that's a big one. This one is less like individual, but like the way that we manage land, like land practices, we've really moved away from like the way indigenous people have managed and been stewards of the land. And you know, we just came in and fucked it up, of course, and like it's just became very like structured and that's not the way that it should be. And so like we cemented over, you know, the LA River because of flooding, but if we had just included room for floodplains, like it wouldn't have been an issue.
Right.
And like, so we just the solution is always like, what technology can we use? And actually really it's just what can we stop doing that's like how can we emulate nature, you know? So there's just a lot of things you can do on your land, that the way that you graze cattle and the way it's just this whole system, and it's so fascinating.
And so, but why do you think the system is the way it is? Because I think a lot of people think, well, it's working. Like, people think it's working because it works, and they don't always see.
Yeah.
You know, their house is fine, and they get the plumbing they need, and it goes to the dump, and they don't see the trash anymore. Like, what would you say to somebody who's like, I don't notice anything. I don't think anything needs to be changed.
I mean, it's not true. Unfortunately.
But, right. And I mean, I agree, but it is one of these things where I'm just trying to figure out, how do you speak to people who are following the dogma, mostly driven by oil companies and farming and the dairy industry and all these things that are demonizing any sort of progress in this way. It's like, how do you convince people that it really is a problem, because they don't trust anybody. They don't trust science. They don't trust reports from the fake news.
Right.
What do you even say? Do you just give up? Do you just not try to interact with those people?
Well, I feel like anyone can see at least one thing that they know couldn't be good. You know, like, I mean, when you really get down to it, you're like, well, clean air and clean water is important, right? Yes. Okay, well, let's start there. You know, like, from all the pesticides, the whole like Central America or center part of America around the Mississippi is like has these forever toxins in the water now because of the pesticides, and it's like there's like higher cancer rates there, and like
from the drinking water.
From the drinking water, like just it goes into the Mississippi River, and that's what everyone draws from, and it's just like, we have 60 years of farmable soil left if we keep going the way we are. Like, we're not going to be able to grow food. Like, people know that the bee... There are facts that, like, general facts that, like, anybody could not argue with necessarily. And if they are, then I don't really know what to say to them, because obviously they are wanting to just... It's scary to them, you know? I understand that. Like, so they don't want to confront it. But I think for people who are interested, that would probably be a better person to talk to, because at least they would make changes or whatever.
I wonder if there's a way to, and I think people are trying to figure this out all the time, to talk about this stuff in a way that's like fun.
Yeah.
Because it's just the least fun thing.
I think it's so fun, but I'm a weirdo.
I mean, fun is not how I would describe it. I think important for me, weirdos, but we need weirdos. We all need weirdos. Weirdos about everything.
Yeah.
You're a nerd for Mother Earth.
I really
am. And it's really, really lovely thing.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I mean, people keep telling me I should, because I'm a filmmaker, like, people keep telling me I should make things that are kind of my style, that are like talking about zero waste or the environment or composting or whatever. And so I've thought about that, like something that's easily digestible.
Right.
And interesting to look
and
at.
And not ominous.
Yeah. Yeah. But I have a very dark sense of humor, so I think it would be right up my alley to just kind of slip in a little like morbid fact and then like go right back into the like, here's what you can do. But there's a spiritual side of it. There's an artistic side of it. There's colors. And I don't know. It's like, I think anybody can like find one aspect of the ecosystem and just kind of hone in on like what interests them.
Why do you think we are so separated? Like that it's not normal to have reverence for a flower?
I just think it's a system that's been going on for a long time.
Yeah. It's
becoming very clear that the indigenous cultures of the world were totally right, and that white people were just more motivated and militant about what they thought the world should be, and that's very, very sad. And so, like, that's what happened, in my opinion. The more motivated you are doesn't mean you're right.
Right. The more powerful you are doesn't mean you're right.
Exactly.
There always is going to be balance, and the balance against the amount of time we're spending on our phones and computers is like, holy shit, can I just meditate a little bit?
I'm on my phone too much.
Right. And you are a kind of thoughtful, spiritual person who's probably like, I mean, for me, I'm like, I recognize how truly addicting and toxic my phone is in my life, but also I need it for work. And
I'm just on it. Like, I don't know, Instagram stories, I'm addicted to them.
They're great.
All my friends, they need to be making more stories.
Yeah.
I'm running out. Like, I'm like, wait, I'm going down like 4 tiers of friends. Like, who are these people?
How do you interact with Instagram? What is your relationship to that entity?
I like it because I follow what I want, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's ads and stuff, but I follow things that make me happy.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I'm not really on Twitter so much these days because that has a negative effect on me.
It's only negative. I've never looked at Twitter in the past like 3-4 years and been like, I feel so much better.
Facebook, I'm on it still because there's like job groups and there's Zero Waste LA, which I really like. And then I'm part of my local like Buy Nothing group. This is an official PSA to join your local Buy Nothing group. Buy Nothing. Buy Nothing. Yeah. So it's very hyper local. You could type in Buy Nothing and then like your neighborhood. Like I'm in one that's Echo Park, South Silver Lake. Like it's very specific. Wow. And then so people will post things that they're giving away or things that they're looking for. And usually, like, here's a funny example. Someone was like, does anyone have a paper parasol? I want one for like when I'm walking in the sun. And 2 people were like, you can have mine. And I was like, are you kidding me? That is so specific. And like, it's not even that big of a group. But like, so I love it because it's very like, you know, subverting the machine, you know, like I'm not going to go out and buy this thing. I'm just going to get it from my neighbor who doesn't need it anymore. I think that's beautiful. And like it builds community and I've met a lot of people. And so I would recommend that everybody join.
What is it called again?
Buy Nothing. I like tell everyone about them.
Well, I mean, this is definitely the more lovely side of social media.
Yes.
Where it again, rooted in a more positive community ideal. If you feel like sharing, what are some tools that you have developed to deal with the depression in your life?
I go to therapy, and a lot of the practices I was telling you about that I was doing today are part of that.
Yeah,
like
self-care,
mindfulness, you know, creativity. The finger painting I started because I was talking with my therapist about how I wasn't feeling good about my creativity. I wasn't feeling very creative because films just take so long to make, to write them and then produce them and edit them. And I just didn't have a lot of either willpower or money last year to make a lot of things, not as much as I did the year before. And that was somehow a failure. Like if I wasn't getting more and more creative each year, it felt like whatever. But
sure, you didn't feel like you were growing or headed in a place you should.
Yes. But so the painting was like, I want to make something in 10 minutes, like start to finish. And I had tempera paint at my house already, and I went to Blick and I just bought like a $10 Bristol paper pad, like kind of thick cardstock, and that's what I've been painting on. And like I do it in front of the TV, and it's just like that's really been nice to be like, wow, like I made that
automatic
10
expression.
Minutes ago.
Yes.
It didn't exist, and now it looks like me, like, and I'm getting better, like with each painting. And it's just like it's so effective to me. Yeah, to be like, okay, I'm an artist. You know, like I made this thing. Like, yay! So that's been helpful. I meditate, and I don't know, just trying to eat healthy, and I'm on Zoloft, so that helps. That helps too.
Yeah. What I love about the painting is it's not just an expression and like letting out creativity, but now something I've kind of realized through my spiritual journey is it's a celebration.
Yeah.
You get to do this.
Yeah.
This thing is something I get to do.
Yeah.
You know?
And the experience of it is just as important as the final product.
Right.
And so, it's an enjoyable present moment where you're there and you're feeling, you know, for me, I just kind of like feel what I want because they're abstract. So I just kind of like whatever color is like calling to me. Yeah. I'm like, okay, there you go. So it's very present, you know? Yeah. And in a world where we're so not present all the time.
It's tactile. Yeah. You are in your power. You're not giving it to something else. Yeah. You're not watching someone else's story that they're creating. This is just you in your own thing. Would you say that you've been a spiritual person your whole life? Was this something that you found? What has that journey been like?
Definitely found it. I'm not like part of a religion necessarily,
right.
but just like
yourself,
myself.
Yeah.
I am God. I'm my own God.
Yeah. You
basically.
are.
I'm not anyone else's God, but I'm my own God.
Yeah.
And
good to meet you.
Thank you. Wasn't really religious growing up. I went to like a Lutheran preschool and hated it, and like had to go to a normal church and like hated it.
Yeah.
And, like came home and was like, Jesus is boring, so like just
right.
not a part of my life.
There's no connection for you.
No.
That, yeah.
And so yeah, recently, I mean, and my mom has always kind of really been into the guru world.
Oh, sure. Yes. Self-help a little bit, or
self-help,
spiritual self-help.
Spiritual
stuff?
self-help.
Like who?
I don't know. I mean, when The Secret came out, she was really into that, and I really liked it, to be honest, when it came out. But now I'm realizing that there's toxic positivity, which is like, you have to be happy. And so now we've evolved, hopefully. I mean, some people are very still stuck in that. You can't be sad, but now it's...
Don't be negative.
Don't be negative.
Like,
don't be sad.
That's not helpful.
And you're denying a part of yourself that just is there.
The human experience is not just one thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that I think was growth in a certain way, but then it cut off this whole section of the pain, and how that's just as important, And
right.
so now, I'm big into Instagram is great because there's so much mental health stuff on Instagram.
Yes.
Like self-healing and reparenting and future self journaling and like all these like things that I'm doing, and through meditation, like I've had some pretty profound experiences with me, where I'm like actually like just sobbing, and I'm like, oh, there you are, it's beautiful. Like, I don't know. It's just really powerful.
I don't know if there's any other way to truly like poke at the deepest version of yourself. And that's why I've been there too, where I just start crying because I'm like, oh my God, hi. Like,
I haven't seen you ever, like this part of myself,
since I was a kid.
Exactly.
When you're looking in a mirror and you're like, what is this?
Yeah.
Hi. Like you are aware.
Yeah.
Do you have any aha moments that you've reached recently that you would feel like sharing or talking about?
I mean, yeah, they pass through. I mean, I don't like write them down necessarily, but
even like mantras or tenets that you.
Well, here's something. Here's a little like exercise that I started doing just to like get myself more present. Is whenever I remember, like if I'm in the car or I'm sitting somewhere and I'm just kind of like in my thoughts, I'll look up and I'll just look at what I see and I'll think to myself, this is a painting. Like, what if this is a painting? And I just like hone in on all the details, and then I hone in on the big picture and like the light, and like it just really puts me in the moment. And I just made it up. I don't know. I just thought of it, right. And it's really cool. And it makes me, it's like a little gratitude check-in and an observation, present moment, mindfulness kind of thing.
It's a literal frame that you're putting around.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm a director, so like maybe that's more helpful to me than other people. But another like kind of thing is just that I've stopped putting labels on emotions. Like there are no good emotions or bad emotions. They're just emotions. They're not to be judged. They are just like, if you imagine them like a child that just walked up to you, like crying or angry or whatever, you would not talk to that child the way you talk to yourself in those moments. Right. Like, and so like, I'm very nurturing to my biggest emotions, like I just want to like, it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be angry. Just sit there and be whatever you want until you feel safe enough to leave.
Yeah.
Like, so I've kind of personified these parts of myself as like a little child I'm caring for and I'm nurturing, and I'm just like not judging this child, so.
It sounds like a very healthy way to deal with it, and just giving it some quiet time.
Yeah. Like I'm not like forcing it to get better or be like, these are all the reasons why you shouldn't be angry. These are all the reasons, like, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm just angry. I'm just sad.
Right.
Like,
you can't logic your way through an emotion necessarily.
Work itself out. And that's like really cool because it will work itself out. Like, like the brain wants to fix everything, but really it just needs to be and swirl through you, and then, you know, it will take care of itself.
Yeah.
Like, you just have to trust that it will.
It will get bored with whatever
Absolutely.
this disturbance is, and we'll
with,
just let it go.
Yeah, because people will engage it and they'll be like, it's a Rubik's Cube and I'm going to solve it, I'm going to fix it. And then it's like, no, it just needs to be heard and seen. Like, people, that's really all. I'm convinced people just want to be heard and seen and understood.
Yeah.
Like, at their very core, that's literally all we want. Like,
and we want to control it. But that's the problem.
From like, that's what we want from our surroundings.
Oh, right,
I think,
right.
Is to
our
feel
root.
like
Yes.
people see us and they hear us and that we can exist. And so if you turn that around onto yourself, like, I hear you, I see you, I understand you. Doesn't mean I'm going to try and change you or kick you out or whatever, but like, that will subside, I think, whatever's going on.
Why do you think it is, and then there's a million reasons, I'm sure, but why do you think it is so much harder for men to talk about any of this stuff? And it's so normal for women to talk about this.
Patriarchy, dude.
Yeah.
It's the patriarchy. I mean, that's what I believe. I think it's so harmful to everyone. It's just as harmful to men, in my opinion. So it's not a women's issue.
Right.
It's not. It's everyone's issue. And so
Both sides are participating in it.
yeah, and the women are reinforcing the negative stereotypes or the negative boxes around the men, you know, like there are women who expect men to be a certain way because they've been taught that that's how men are, and
Right.
men vice versa they expect women to be a certain way, and it's like, well, you know, I mean, gender is becoming fluid, and I think that's only brought up more conversations about like, what does it all mean, you know,
Yeah.
like we're just energy, like, and whatever makeup of feminine, masculine energy we have inside of ourselves, like, it's just based on the person, and that's okay. And
Right.
and just kind of like thinking, like challenging it, you know. But yeah, it's rough.
What I've been kind of grappling with is like, okay, so we are all kind of agreeing that the modern masculine ideals are, you could say, toxic or just not working, not equal. There's some injustice there. So these things are bad. But I also you wonder about the actual implementation of changing these ways, because it is like young boys becoming more emotional and being more in touch. Will women react with attraction to that? Because that is still the driving force between all of this.
Yeah.
Is
Well,
mating, courtship, all that stuff.
I think you can be very masculine and very emotional.
Yes.
Like, I think those can exist in the same space. Because I don't really mean emotional necessarily. I just mean open. We're all emotional. Men have certain emotions that they're allowed to be, angry
Violent,
or
anger,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like, if you just are open, then, you know, men are emotional, women are emotional, like people are emotional. We're made of emotions.
Yeah, it's
So,
interesting. Even just the
how
word
can you-
emotional is more directed for women, where it's like,
But it's like-
being angry is emotional.
Exactly.
Being violent is emotional. Being stern or cold is
Right.
emotional.
And so, like,
Yeah.
it's more just finding the balance, you know, of like, you know, I think it's been easier for women since the 1980s to find more of our masculinity through the work revolution and the empowerment, and like there's been a lot of money spent in ads to empower these women, and I think that's great. And at the same time, you know, there has been more talk about boys, you know, not needing to man up and all that stuff, but like, it's definitely a huge part, and it's still getting worked out, I think.
Yeah, well, I feel like that conversation's been only really happening like
Very
five
yes,
years maybe.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's so
So
new.
it's like feminine, masculine energy, everyone has a balance, you know, and I don't know how that affects your gender identity, or if it doesn't, if that's completely separate, you know, from like, that is a whole other level.
Yes.
Like I think I have a little bit more masculine energy than, I don't know, the average woman, but I'm just me, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
But separately from that, I am open emotionally.
Yeah.
And that goes into communication, and like, these things aren't communication and openness aren't feminine. They're just traits, I think.
For most people, you can define it as certain, you can give examples or this and that, but it's like they say what pornography is. You know when you see it. You know what masculine or feminine is in a person when you see it.
Right.
What is masculinity to you? Because I know both have both, but what is it to you?
I know. I'm trying to think of the answer that doesn't put it in a box and also doesn't push feminism or feminine energy off the cliff in terms of that. That's what they're lacking.
Yes.
Because all people have both.
Yes.
So I'm not saying like women aren't this way.
That's what I'm saying. Like both have both.
I think.
And that's
all
we
people
get that.
have
We
both.
Understand that. But there just are inherent traits that we think about.
I think masculinity is a confidence of a knowing, like of a direction. I think, like a moving direction.
Yeah,
is what I think of. But you can't have masculinity without femininity because they balance each other out, like yin and yang. And femininity is, I think, intuition. I think there's a knowing on another level. They're both, I think they both are knowing, but in different ways. Because you can know things in a place where you can't like put your finger on it, and then you can know things where you're like looking at a map. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying all this as I'm going along. But I feel like I think
it's important for us to define these things a little bit.
I think that, I think that could be it. It's a really fascinating question. I'm going to be thinking about this after this podcast.
Because this is the thing. Like in a vacuum, it's fun to think about how everybody can be everything.
Yeah.
But we're never going to be that unless it's some sort of weird genderless space, which we could evolve into.
Yeah.
But like to me, it is about the balance, having these masculine traits that are traditional, but feeling those parts as a man that are not traditionally masculine and embracing them and like trying them out and seeing if this is something that I can be, down with. And then also not making feminine traits negative, because that's why calling someone gay is bad. Mm-hmm. That's why someone throw like a girl is bad. They mean you do it poorly.
Exactly.
And so you are again demonizing, negating the female existence.
Yeah.
And so that's the problem.
Right.
It's okay to have these traits, but not if you are making everything that's not that bad.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, and I think it was like Obama was talking recently and he was like, can we just try putting all women in charge and see what happens? And just
try it.
Let's just try it, but I mean, if you did imagine the entire government of America was all women, like obviously there would still be a lot of debate and disagreement and greed and corruption and racism and sexism and all that stuff. But like there is a different kind of energy where we have more femininity. We've got just different skill set.
Right. And it's interesting to play out to stretch out that scenario a little bit more. So it's like, okay, so you pitch that to someone, that sounds crazy. Why is that not okay? Well, because there are so many men who are qualified for it. It's like, well, why aren't women as qualified? Because they have not within the system been supported that way. So if we, in this scenario, had a system that had supported women where they were qualified across the board for all of these jobs, because that is a possibility, what would it look like? And I think it's so scary for men. Yeah. Because it's a power thing. But it would be so much more nurturing and so much more equal.
But but also to go off of what you're saying, like they're not qualified. The qualifiers have been masculine traits.
Right, exactly.
That's the test. It's like
we are creating the qualifications.
Whether or not they are masculine enough for the job. And so it's like, wait, why don't we just like question the qualifications to begin with and actually like think, well, there's room for all. There's room for a different like perspective just because it's not who you are. And again, like, people don't want different voices in the room because it's threatening on a tribalistic level or whatever, or they take it personally because they see that this person's different from them or that they're bringing something new to the table. And if they have a weak ego, they're going to be threatened by that because if their thing ends up working, it means they're less than, which isn't true, but it's like, I think there's a lot
of scarcity there.
Absolutely.
Which is where what comes, for me, what all of this leads to, with the problem with every single thing, and I'll say this every single podcast forever, why I want to talk about this is because I do think a disconnected masculinity is the root of every major problem on Earth.
Yeah.
Because it's this feeling of domination over collaboration, and it's a feeling of control instead of openness. And so
it connected.
Do you believe that people can work together, or do you believe that you have to take what you can? And that's kind of the two different mindsets that I'm seeing.
Absolutely. I think that's it, because it's a specifically disconnected masculinity versus connected masculinity, where you are authentic and you're in line with your beliefs and who you are, and your actions match your opinions, and you have integrity and you have assurance, but you're also open to other ideas.
Yeah.
And the goal is the community rather than the me.
Right.
And again, because we all have masculinity inside of us, we can all have disconnected masculinity inside of us. And I think generally most people are disconnected.
It's why everybody thinks that the environment's just going to fix itself, and they don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
They don't have to take it upon themselves to change anything. But it's like, change is good.
Yeah. It's scary, but it's
up your fucking life.
It's a part of life. Like, it has to change. I mean, just like to bring it back to like nature, it's constantly changing. Like I was thinking just yesterday, like the tides, they come in and out. And if you believed that the tide would never come back, when it was low tide, you'd be freaking out every single day. Every single day you'd be like, this is the end. I'm dead. But it always comes back, and it ebbs and flows, and it just changes constantly.
Yeah.
Every single day. Like, that's a part of life.
Right. And being okay with that is a level of peace that allows for openness, that allows for but
to trust what you can't see.
Right.
Which is feminine energy.
Yes. The intuition.
Yes, that reminds me of this speech that I heard. I can't remember the name, but he's probably very well known. But he was talking about the world in relationship to a human body and how we fight off viruses all the time. We, as a healthy human person, seem totally cool and at peace. But then inside of our bodies, there's chaos everywhere. There's antibodies and there's cells rushing around and pumping. And wars are being fought inside of our bodies right now so that we can be at peace.
Yeah.
So that we can be healthy. And if you think of the world like that, I mean, not to take away from the individual suffering, but if you really just kind of take a step back and think of it in terms of like the universe, there is so much chaos on the earth, but it's a body. The earth is a body, and we are the cells, and it's just like our bodies, and then it's like the universe, and then the individual person, and then the cells, and then the microorganism. I mean, it's like it's so many layers of complexities, and we're all just one living body, really.
Yeah, everything is an ecosystem.
Everything is an ecosystem.
That's something I've been kind of tossing around for a while. It's just like every single thing is an ecosystem.
Yeah. Someone was,
and we are part of a larger ecosystem.
And then all the subcultures are ecosystems, and everything has to exist for something else to exist. Like it's a balance. I was talking to someone, and they're like, "Oh, I hate musicals." This isn't.
I already love this example.
Well, I studied drama in college, and so like he was a more of a movement kind of guy, like whatever. So I was like, okay,
arts college stuff.
Art, yeah. This is a very niche example, but he was like, God, musicals are so like ostentatious and like extra, and I'm like, it's an ecosystem. You don't have to like musicals. There are plenty of people who do like musicals. There are plenty of people who hate movement or whatever you like to do, And he was like, yeah, I guess you're right, but it's like, just let things exist. Like, this bug doesn't have anything to do with this snake necessarily, except they are connected by this middle insect or whatever. It's like they are all connected, and they can all exist, and they can all live harmoniously.
Kind of are built to.
They are built to be harmonious. I mean, that's why diversity in all ways, diversity of plants, diversity of people and ideas, and like it's going to create the healthiest ecosystem.
Yeah.
Because eventually it will all balance out and work.
Caron, what is your greatest gift?
Wow. I think I'm emotionally intelligent. I like my emotions a lot. I think they are a superpower. I can read other people's emotions. I can just read people very well. And I know how to make people feel safe, I think. I would hope that I'm giving permission to other people to be emotional through my openness with them.
Do you give yourself permission?
To be
open with other people?
Yeah. Oh, sometimes. It's funny because in some ways I can be very open, and in some ways I am private, like in certain places of my life, and just like it takes a long time for me to build a foundation of trust with someone to the point where like I'm showing them exactly who I am. And I wish I could be more open, but there's a reason, there's a survival tactic for why I learned how to do that. So until that no longer serves me, I'm fine with how I am.
Yeah.
But
do you find it's easier to help other people be vulnerable than for you?
Sure. Obviously. Obviously. Yeah.
That's why it works.
Yeah. I welcome more vulnerability into my life because it's really scary, but it's very, very rewarding.
And what is the most important thing in your life?
My brain, I guess. Like
there's a lot in there.
The way I see the world, my point of view.
Yeah.
My point of view, I guess.
How does your heart feel right now?
Good. Very calm, open.
Cool.
It was, it's nerve-wracking being on a podcast, but yeah, I feel good.
Did a great job.
I kind of forgot we were being recorded, so hope I didn't say anything too weird.
You sure did it. Only good stuff from that wonderful brain that you appreciate. Well, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.